Stephen Kovacs went from proposing to his girlfriend to living alone and dealing with an overbearing cable guy that won't leave him be. What starts as an awkward, one-sided friendship grows into a waking nightmare for Stephen as the cable guy takes over each part of his life. Stephen tries to not lose everything as he wrestles the remote control of his life back from the cable guy.
Welcome to Movie Friends. My name is Seth.
And I'm Michelle.
Today we're talking about The Cable Guy from 1996. Directed by Ben Stiller, written by Lou Holtz Jr., cinematography by Robert Brinkman, composed by John Ottman, edited by Steven Weisberg, costume design by Erica Edel Phillips. Starring Jim Carrey, Matthew Broderick, Leslie Mann, Jack Black, and 100 comedians from the 90s. Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Seth. What's going on?
Not much. We're back in the saddle.
We're back in the saddle. I was going to be like, hey, how are you? What's new? But we've been with each other every day since Thursday. I've seen your face. Or Friday, since Friday.
Yep, we were down at the Stony Brook Film Festival and had a lot of fun. Watched a ton of movies with you, which was very odd.
I know.
It's a weird experience.
Yes, very strange for me. I mean, I think today is going to break my seal of watching at least one movie every day since Thursday. It's like 6 days in a row. And then, tonight, I don't know if this counts of talking about a movie, but I'll tell you what, after we record, I'm not watching a movie. So
there you go.
The streak is done. The streak is done.
Take a break. Watch some, are you still watching Taxi?
No, I'm not. I'm currently watching this Netflix show called King of Collectibles.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's just about this agency that pretty much auctions off collectibles and sports memorabilia and pop culture memorabilia. It's really interesting. Easy to watch. Yeah.
Did you ever watch Pawn Stars?
You've watched Pawn Stars and Antique Roadshow.
Sure, yeah.
That was a good one, too. Yeah.
Speaking of old things.
Yes.
You went recently on your anniversary. You went to see a house.
I did see a
specific house. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, guys, I finally went and saw and visited Louisa May Alcott's house, the Little Women house.
Nice.
It was my one request this year with vacations. And I said, if we're going to Boston for our anniversary, I want to go to Louisa May Alcott's house. And it was great. And I cried. And I learned a lot about the Alcott family. And even Aunt enjoyed it. It's awesome. Highly recommend. And so many of our listeners, after we talked about it and did our episode on Little Women, reached out and they shared their stories of visiting. And they're like, you have to go. So it's like I made a passage there.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would cry if I went, but I would be curious to go.
Yeah. I mean, the whole house is just filled with so many cool stories. And then to see the desk that her father built for her where she wrote Little Women,
right?
It's pretty special.
Is that what got you going?
That's what got me going.
Got it.
Plus the desk is so tiny.
I mean, how big do you need? It's a Little Women book. I could have told that joke better.
I know. I was waiting. I'm like, somehow we're getting a little joke.
The book is Little Women, Little Desk. Yeah, my desk literally has cobwebs on it.
For real?
From not recording last week.
Oh, yes. I know. We recorded in person. It feels weird to be back. It feels like we haven't done this in 1,000 years, and it couldn't be further from the truth because we did so many episodes in the time we were together.
I know. We say it every time we take a 1 week break. It's like, wow, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Something we have done before, and you should join us for, is a live show. We're doing one in September 21st, Long Island, New York. You should come. It's free. We're going to be talking about Space Jam. And you might be thinking, I don't want to go and just sit in an audience and watch two people talk about a movie. Friends, that is not what this is, okay? It is exciting, dynamic, revolutionary, other buzzwords.
Yeah, it's so much more than just a recording of a podcast.
There's visual gags.
Yeah, there's visual representations.
They don't translate well to the audio episode.
That should be what we should lead with. Like, you should come to the live show to understand the episode because the
Exactly.
audio probably, it'll
There's some
sound
stuff
good.
missing. Yeah,
You're going to miss some things.
absolutely. Hey, people who didn't miss some things, send us an email.
Yes. Also, wait, in calling you out on things, why are you holding a Q-tip? Is this week's eggplant?
Yeah.
Oh, it's bent.
Yeah, as I record, I sit here and I will bend Q-tips into different shapes to keep. Yeah, I've never realized until the whole eggplant thing and now the Q-tip thing how much I keep my hands busy while we're recording.
Well, I tend to like play with this.
Mm-hmm.
I take my ring off.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was such a fidgeter.
So the first email, the subject line is hernias of the spotless mind.
Oh boy.
And it starts out with, hey there, bad movie lovers, movie friends. Listening to the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind episode, and I believe a hernia is a tear in the abdominal wall where the intestine pokes through. But I'm not a doctor. I think it almost happened to me in high school gym doing squats where it felt like I got stabbed. Probably should have had that checked out. Also, I liked the touch with sound effects since the last time I tuned in. I'm looking forward to being traumatized by the Mask episode soon. Your friend, the master of the stupid stuff. And that's an email from Nick.
Nick.
Nick's the host of Bad Movies We Love.
Wait, is that Shiesty Nick?
Yes.
Nick, thank you for your Apple Podcast review.
That's right.
Got a good laugh at that. Calling you Shrek Vargas and me Foot Sickles. I LOL'd.
And we got another email. Subject line is The Mask. It says, I loved the cat turning into Felicia skit. And this is in reference to our episode on The Mask. If you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to it. There was a high quality audio production introducing our guest, Felicia. I think it might be the funniest
It's
moment.
so funny.
The reveal of Felicia as the guest is like my favorite moment.
It's my favorite thing. You deserve all the awards. Felicia deserves all the awards. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened, you have to tune in for it.
The email continues, the big band resurgence was terrible. I should have been on this podcast episode to take Seth's side. Animal identity crisis is stressing me out. I know I'm in the minority, but I've never been a fan of Cameron Diaz. Oh, no.
What?
Well, I'm going to be talking about Cameron Diaz later in this episode when we talk about Leslie Mann, but I'll hold on to that. P.S. Felicia was a great guest. P.S.S. Carrie is in the category with Sandler that I want a redo of their career where they did drama only. They're both so good in dramatic roles. P.S.S.S. Felicia's love for this is so confounding to me. And that's from Ben.
Thanks, Ben. That's
Thank you,
interesting. Having Carrie and Sandler do their careers over, but in a dramatic way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Sandler's a dude like Carrie where the few dramatic roles that he's done are just like all-time great American movies, you know? And
yeah, but I like Sandler's comedy.
Oh, I do too. More so like The Wedding Singer.
Oh, my fave.
Than like Billy Madison.
I still like Billy Madison. I like Happy Gilmore, Big Daddy.
Yeah. Billy Madison to me kind of falls into the same thing of like Ace Ventura with Jim Carrey, where it's like, all right, stop doing the voice.
Sure.
You know, tone it down a little bit. But people need to be like Ben and Nick and send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know about, you know, if you did squats in gym class.
Hopefully you didn't get a hernia from it.
Yeah. Who would you like to see a career redo from? Liam Neeson? Put him straight into those action movies. Keanu Reeves? Put him straight into the action movie. You know, who knows?
You got action on the mind.
So before we get into our film discussion, we write down a prediction of what the other person is going to rate this movie. All right, this is a tricky one, man. This is a tricky one. I feel like I'm just taking a stab in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah, I have my pen.
Woo-woo.
Woo-hoo. Okay, here we go. Okay.
All right. I'm just going based on what I know about you.
And same.
Which is kind of wrong most of the time. So.
Yeah, but sometimes you're so right, it's scary. You're either so wrong or so right. There's no like in the middle. But I'm locked in.
Me too. So before one of us watches the film for the first time, we record our pre-watch thoughts, and this was Michelle's first time. Almost my first time, by the way. I only watched this very recently for the first time. Mm-hmm. Yep. Because over the last year, I kind of made it a point to go through and watch all of Jim Carrey's 90s stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had no idea that this month was coming, but I was like, I think it's time. I think enough time has passed. And so
you got tortured twice.
Yes. So let's listen to Michelle's pre-watch thoughts.
So it turns out that Larry the Cable Guy has nothing to do with this movie, The Cable Guy. I thought maybe Larry the Cable Guy was in this movie, or the Cable Guy's name is Larry. I mean, we didn't roll that out.
That is really funny to me because it makes perfect sense that you'd be like, Cable Guy.
Okay, so to go on that, I was talking to my friend last night about just movies in general, and I mentioned I watched this movie, and she goes, oh, is that the one with Larry the Cable Guy?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, right? I thought the same thing. Mm-hmm. But imagine my face when in this movie, he says his name is Larry.
Yeah.
I like lost. I wish someone was in the room with me because I was like looking around and be like, oh, you know, my mind exploded.
Maybe Larry the Cable Guy was watching this and he was like, hey, now that's a good name now. I think later on I should do the pre-watch. I should do the half-star review as Larry the Cable Guy.
Please do. Yeah. Please do.
Larry the Cable Guy is an easy voice to do because there's no top or bottom to it. There's no ceiling of ridiculousness.
Oh, I see.
So like for Jerry Seinfeld, you know, people will be like, and it's like, no. You need to bring it down a little bit, you know?
Tell me that's not your Jerry
No.
impression.
I'm saying like that's a bad. Like people are like, what's the deal with mom?
Okay,
it's like you have to come down a little bit. But with Larry the Cable Guy, you can go, and everyone knows exactly what that is. Or you can do it much like, hey there, Michelle, how you doing? You know, and it's like,
yeah, you sound like a King of the Hill character.
Yeah.
What is Larry the Cable Guy doing? Can we just talk about him this episode?
Comedy. He does comedy, you know.
But still?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
touring?
So. I'm not a big Larry the Cable Guy.
No, I'm not either.
Throw that out there.
I'm not either. Not my thing.
Not my thing. I know that he used to do comedy not as that character.
Oh, interesting. Is his name actually Larry?
I don't think so. He adopted that persona to do like stand-up comedy, and that became his whole thing. Kind of like Andrew Dice Clay. I don't know if you know him back in the day.
Yeah, I do, but not my thing.
Yeah, like he adopted that whole like look, and so he's appearing in movies, but like as his character, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I have a lot of Googling to do tonight.
Can you imagine if your next obsession leaps from Andy Kaufman to Larry the Cable Guy?
If that happens.
And then we're going to do the movie Delta Farce.
Check in on me, friends. Don't let me go there.
Larry the Cable Guy month. So it'd be like Cars, Delta Farce. I think he did a Tooth Fairy movie. I'm not sure.
Wait, isn't Vince Vaughn the Tooth Fairy?
No, Dwayne.
Oh, whoops! I always
Johnson,
not Vince. Yes, you're right. I don't know why I thought Vince Vaughn. I was thinking Dwayne.
Yeah. Hey, in case you can't tell, I think Michelle and I are avoiding getting into this discussion. Anyway,
the Cable Guy.
Yeah. This was our patron voted movie. It was so close between this and The Number 23,
Wow.
which is a movie about a man who starts to see the number 23 everywhere, and he becomes obsessed. It's interesting. I don't necessarily endorse the film. It's been quite a while since I've seen it, but
You don't endorse it?
no. And Cable Guy won out.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really peculiar movie for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was kind of the end of the Jim Carrey comedic 90s.
Yeah.
Before he goes into Truman Show, Man on the Moon. I'm not going to ask for your general thoughts, but as you're watching this, you sit down to watch it. Are you like, oh, here we go? Are you
Yes.
blindsided by what's like? Just kind of walk me through your experience, I suppose.
My first thought was like, yes, I don't have to rent this.
Oh, yes.
An hour and 35 minutes. Second, yes. Directed by Ben Stiller. Yes. Oh my gosh, this cast. Yes. And then it starts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh, I just want to like have Jim just like, let's just bring it down.
Right. You want to squeeze his lips together and whisper shush. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This to me felt like a dramatic arts class was divided into groups, and each was presented with the same plot of a man with a borderline personality disorder who installs cable television to people's homes, and each group got a different genre, and what we watched was this group's comedic take on it.
Wow. That is such incredible summation of the film. Really. Like that's pretty great.
And why I say that is because I really, really like this story.
Okay.
And I just wish I could see it done in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just Jim Carrey, while super talented, and I recognize that, I just cannot stand him.
Yeah, in this movie.
Right, and I understand the actions and who he is as this character, but like it irks me, so I'm just constantly annoyed, and I'm like, man, I like this story, but I cannot stand you.
Yeah.
And not that you're supposed to not stand him. I can't stand the whole big of it. So, yeah.
Quick clarification. I made a wrong statement.
Okay.
I said that this was kind of the end of Jim Carrey's comedic thing. He did have Liar Liar come out after this, which was obviously
Oh, was
Liar,
this
Liar.
after?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the story is good because it's a familiar story when this is like a thriller. Something is wrong with how this is presented. And I have a slightly different version of it. Carrey is okay in this, but Matthew Broderick, to me, does not match in almost any of the scenes what's happening. Like, Matthew Broderick is way too pulled back. He's obviously the straight man, right? Mm-hmm. And so I get that. And some people were really complimenting everyone in the movie for kind of getting out of Jim Carrey's way and letting him perform.
You're right. That's how it feels. Yeah.
But for believing the story, Matthew Broderick is like more than just a wet blanket. He's more than just like a throw rug. He's not there.
Yeah.
And like you need to have an actor who's responding. I mean, when they go to medieval times and all the insanity of everything that happens afterwards, Matthew Broderick is like, we should go again. Well, his character, Stephen is like, we should go again sometime. And I'm thinking he almost like cut your heart out. You know what I mean? Like he literally swung an axe at you that like ripped your shirt and was jousting you. And yes, it turned out okay, but like this person is not like safe to be around.
Yeah, well, it's that battling of trying to. It's like as simple as it is, this guy's my cable guy and hooked me up
Mm-hmm.
and has control over cable, which in the 90s was a huge deal, which is so
Yeah.
relatable. Like when your cable goes out, you were so mad. I can't watch
Yeah.
my program at the time I'm supposed to watch it. And you're trying to be a nice guy. He's tried to set boundaries, but it just keeps not working out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very relatable. Now, if your service goes out, like anywhere that you are, like if you suddenly find yourself without phone service, even if you didn't plan on being on your phone, you just feel disconnected.
Right.
It's like, wait, what if something happens? Or what if I need to, or, oh, I
Yeah.
can't look this thing up, or I can't, get my GPS going. And it creates like an antsy feeling inside of you. So I listened to the commentary from Ben Stiller, Jim Carrey, and Judd Apatow. Jim Carrey and Judd Apatow, they're having like a great time during the commentary. Jim Carrey is funny and personable and wacky, but he's giving good insights. And throughout the whole thing, Ben Stiller just sounds so sad. And he keeps bringing up, he's naming specific people, saying like, oh, the name of the stunt guy who does the fall at the end was this guy and he was great. And oh, this actor was this person. And oh, this is who we had edited. He's so respectful of like the people who worked on it. But just time and time again throughout it, he's like, yeah, I really didn't do this right. And it's kind of my
Interesting.
fault that, and the biggest thing that he said that really stuck out to me was he was like, I didn't commit. I didn't push enough to like kill Jim Carrey's character at the end and really like pick a tone,
Yeah.
because obviously this is a funny spin on a thriller. They weren't trying to make an out and out thriller.
Right.
I want to be clear. Like, I'm not super complaining. Like, I don't think this film is trash, but I do think it's
No.
a tough pill to swallow
Yeah.
because it doesn't go far enough in either lane. Like, it's not scary enough to be a thriller. It's not funny enough to be just a straight comedy. There's some parts of it that are really odd. I do think that it's ahead of its time in terms of, predicting different things about entertainment, people who are raised on entertainment, like Jim Carrey's character is basically,
Mm-hmm.
raised on the television. I think it does a lot of things well, but it picks the middle lane, and it's just
Well,
it's
that's exactly it. And that's where it falls short for me because imagine if we saw this story, but Jim was dramatic.
right.
We
Absolutely.
have a totally different movie here and I am here for it.
Yeah. And I would say he doesn't even need to be dramatic. He just needs to pull it in.
Yeah.
It can still be funny. Like, there can still be funny parts throughout it, but it's throwing, Ace Ventura into a thriller, and it's like, oh man. it's
Right.
it's pretty wild. This is Jim Carrey month, Jim Lai, last movie that we're doing for Jim Carrey month. How do you feel about him in this role? And maybe follow-up question to that is, how do you feel about him in this role in light of what's come before and in light of the movies that are, down the road for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's extremely talented and this month definitely we explored his range and what he's
Mm-hmm.
capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a great character actor and he's extremely dedicated. And I think, again, that's represented in this movie and in every movie we've covered because the physical comedy in this, of just speaking of Jim and his rubber like body, we saw in The Mask.
Mm-hmm.
But they're completely different movies and
Mm-hmm.
stories. But it's this like what Jim brings to a character.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about him? Because I think you and I think from this month and talking about it, we feel the same. We both
Yeah.
are not huge fans of big comedy. We felt differently about The Mask, which is okay. But like you can respect him as an actor.
Oh, yeah. I respect The Mask, and I respect
Sure.
all that. It does nothing for me,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
not like, if you like this movie, you're insane. I mean, look,
No.
I
No.
had you and Felicia on the same episode talking about how much you both enjoyed it. And I'm not sitting here like, these guys are idiots. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
you're my
Right.
co-host and good friend who I respect.
Right.
And Felicia is one of the people that I respect their opinion on films more than anyone else.
Yeah.
In fact, I finished a film last night, a film by Mike Lee that was great. And I messaged her and I was like, you need to explain this movie to me. But that's beside the point. I have a theory, and I don't know that this is correct, and I do not put this forth as anything that should be taken as, gospel truth. One of the reasons why The Cable Guy is famous is because it was the first time in Hollywood that a movie star was paid $20 million for a role. If you listen to the show, you know that I and Michelle both prefer practical effects, small budget, indie stuff. We love the nitty gritty. We love the scrappy filmmaking. We love all that stuff. And so I hear $20 million. I'm like, oh, that's ridiculous. But I spent a lot of time reading articles from when that deal happened and listening to Ben Stiller talk about it and the head of the studio listening to his opinion on it. Right. And it made sense. And so here's my theory, all that leading up to this. I think Ben Stiller wanted to make a weird, subversive comedy that had all of his underground comedic friends in it. Ben Stiller, he's coming off of the Ben Stiller Show, which was like a sketch show that was weird and odd. And you've got people from Mr. Show in this. You got David Cross and Bob Odenkirk. You got Tenacious D and Jack Black and Kyle Gass are in this. Janeane Garofalo. Kathy Griffin plays Chip's mom, and like you barely can even tell that it's her. You got Andy Dick. You have all these people. And so this is kind of like a vehicle for that type of performer. They're able to land Jim Carrey, the biggest movie star in the world, who a year and a half prior was paid like $450,000 for Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Carrey says that he took the money and did this role in such a weird way as like an allergic reaction to success. I don't know that Ben Stiller set out to say, I want the biggest movie star in the world to be in this movie. It could have been, imagine this exact same movie, but with David Cross in the Cable Guy role.
Right. Yeah.
100% different. Still funny, still
Yes.
weird and zany. And
yes.
That might be the movie that Ben Stiller set out to make. But the head of the studio, I think, actually kind of made a kind of a smart judgment call. So he says the budget for Cable Guy is $47 million. If I can make a summertime comedy for $47 million, but Jim Carrey's in it and it makes $300 million, I don't care if I pay him $20 million. Who cares?
Right.
Like, that's
right.
irrelevant. The rest of the movie's costing me $25 million. Like,
right.
And so he was kind of like, it's still a steal. Like, people were really upset because actor salaries were kind of encroaching higher and higher and higher. And even though Carrey got $20 million for this, I think recently like Stallone or someone like that had gotten like 19 and a half. So it wasn't like this huge jump. So to him, yeah, it's like, it's still a reasonable budget. And boom, we have the biggest star in the world. And so I think as much as Jim wanted to kind of play in the sandbox with the comedians, that he viewed as his contemporaries and people that he respected, the studio was still like, we're paying for Jim Carrey, give us Jim Carrey. And once you let Jim Carrey out of the bag, he's going to do the Jim Carrey thing. And so like, I know that this might be a real stretch, but to me, it made the movie make so much more sense. And so now Ben Stiller, you're directing your sophomore feature. The head of the studio has paid $20 million for Jim Carrey. What do? You really going to stand up for yourself and wrangle him in? And you know what I mean? Like you should feel grateful and lucky that you have this huge star and a comedic genius. And so you kind of let him do it.
Sure. So in the commentary, like you're directing someone, like Jim gets this role and he's told, you're a man with borderline personality disorder. here's a little background on how you were raised. You install cable.
Mm-hmm.
You become obsessed with this idea and you latch on to people because you're lonely, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could be taken so many ways of how to
Absolutely.
portray that. So did Jim read that and run with it and do this with no notes?
Apparently, he came up with the lisp. He wanted to do the lisp.
Okay.
And they were like, why, why?
Why
And
the lisp?
He said it's the same. When he got Dumb and Dumber and got all the money for that, he popped the cap off of his tooth and gave himself the crazy haircut because he was like, I just wanted to be anti-famous and anti-celebrity and anti-rich person. And so it's like self-sabotage kind of.
Right. And Jim has to like connect with the character. He goes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like what we know about him in his personal life and his philosophies on the nature of the show business and he does have that kind of self-sabotage thing where he's like not super interested in, showing up and smiling for the cameras and taking the big money and then going on. Like he's an interesting person. He's
so interesting. And it sounds like he has gone method for a lot of roles.
Yeah.
So for this one, I can only imagine.
He also was the one to suggest the whole medieval times sequence, which was pretty funny to hear him talk about. He was like, my friends brought me to a Renaissance fair and I hated it. And he like got kicked out. And so he was like, hey, we should do a scene where they go to medieval times and we make fun of people who are into this.
Have you ever been to medieval times?
I have not been to medieval times. In high school, there was a group of people that I was friends with who were very into medieval times and Renaissance fairs. And I would love to experience those worlds. I'm not turning my nose up at any of those things. I think if you do that, that's great. But I have not had like a strong desire to go out and do that.
Yeah, I went once with a group of friends. And
did you enjoy it?
We had a lot of car issues.
Oh.
Yeah, a bunch of us went and there was like a caravan. One car broke down. I had a blast. I had like corn and potatoes because I don't eat meat. So it was entertaining for what it was.
And you like cheer and get into it, right? Like,
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the medieval times scene, I'm not a big fan of in this movie. I'm like, whoa.
And it goes on for a really long time.
Really long time.
Really long time.
So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, without Jim Carrey, that scene doesn't even come into play. And so how much sway as the lead actor do you have when you can create an entire huge long sequence because you think it's a good idea? And so Ben Stiller, how tight are his hands in that? So yeah, so that's the theory that I'm going with. Is Ben Stiller wanted to make a weirdo movie and Jim Carrey came in and wanted to make an even weirder one.
And Jimmed all over it.
Yes, absolutely. We mentioned him briefly, but Matthew Broderick here as Stephen. How did you feel about him?
I felt the same way as you. I kind of felt nothing about him because the cable guy is so over the top. So, but I kind of took it as, oh, you need to be the way you are because you have this counterpart.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of just really lackluster.
Really lackluster. And I don't know that we're supposed to like Steven.
I don't think so.
But I don't.
No, I don't either. I don't like anybody in this movie. I think I probably just like the concept. Like I really like the concept.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not rooting for anybody. Like everybody's just either not showing enough emotion or showing too much emotion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to think before we got on. I was like, what do we know about Steven removed from the cable guy? We know that he proposed to his girlfriend and she said no, so he moved out. That's not necessarily anything bad about Steven. It's not necessarily anything good about him.
No.
We know that he's got a high pressure job where he's making a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Again, kind of neutral. Like I just...
I mean, that could be the point, right? That
It could be.
it could be. This can happen to anybody of
Yeah.
just situation
Yeah,
that you
I think
find yourself in.
maybe he's supposed to be like a little boring, fuddy-duddy-ish,
Yeah.
and Jim Carrey's character is supposed to like enliven his life.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's playing basketball with his friends. Him and Jack Black are going to go to a concert of some type.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels there's just nothing. Like, I felt like I was watching a ghost with Matthew
Well, he's like
Broderick
I
on
think he
screen.
represents the everyday man.
Yeah.
In 96, not
right.
like current. I mean, this movie truly is like a time capsule for the 90s.
Definitely.
With all the TV shows we see, the fact that we need cable, answering machines, Janeane Garofalo.
Janeane Garofalo.
It's just like,
great.
this is 1996.
Yeah. We talked about how much we love Janeane Garofalo when we did our episode on Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
Yeah.
With good friend and patron Sean Shank.
Such a good one.
Yes. Patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. Listen to our episode on Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. She's great. And yeah, the TV shows. Like at one point I was like, I kind of just want to watch like an episode of Jerry Springer right now.
Right? I know. And we have to talk about this whole, which I think works really well in the background, this trial of the murder.
It's my favorite part.
I know.
I think it might be the best part.
Yes.
And it cements even further in my mind the theory that Ben Stiller had a specific type of story they want to tell. It's the best part because it's the only part that Jim Carrey isn't in.
That's right. That's right. And so when we are presented with it, it's like, okay, we're all obsessed. Also represents how we just get obsessed with pop culture and trials. And this represents the Mendez brothers and the O.J. Simpson trial. I mean, the trials of the 90s. And you just had to tune in. Everyone had to tune in at the same time because there was no streaming services. So when we're presented this, I'm like, how is this go? I was so interested in that. I was like, oh, is he somehow involved with this?
Apparently, I could not confirm because in a few days' time, I could not find the novelization of The Cable Guy. But apparently, in the novelization of this movie, there's a stronger connection between Chip and these brothers. And Chip grew up watching TV.
Yeah.
And the brothers, one of them becomes like a playboy and one of them converts to this religion. And he maybe did not approve of that. And so he might be the killer of the brother.
I like that theory.
Mm-hmm. So I would have liked to have seen that, a little bit more.
Yeah. I just love that we get updates throughout the movie, these little updates of what's going on in the trial.
It's great.
Shown on TV. I mean, this was chef's kiss.
Yeah. It's really, really funny. I love the Eric Roberts made-for-TV movie about Brother Sweet Brother or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the title was great.
Yeah, love.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah, and I remember from my first time watching this that I was like, oh, I want more. Like the first time you see it, you're like, oh, it's a Ben Stiller thing, but then it comes back, and then it keeps coming back, and you're like, yes, please, like let this be the movie. And I thought it was very smart to put that in all along and then that be the thing that everyone is watching when the cable goes out. I was like, oh, that's very nice. Very nice.
But it's like another example of like, oh, wow, this could have been so good.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like the bones and the foundation are really good. It's like, we just need to rework it.
And I'll say, like, I know I'm being down on this and I just said the best part of the movie is without Jim Carrey. I think that Jim Carrey is funny in different parts of this, Scramby eggs, I thought was funny when he's like, I made scramby eggs. I liked parts of the basketball scene, when he's like, hold on, I got to stretch.
That was funny. That was funny.
Parts of it.
Like my favorite part with him was the scene with Robin, played by Leslie Mann. And he's trying to, what it seems like, be serious with her and kind of tell her how Steven is still in love with her and obsessed with her. And you could see him being like not Jimmy in it.
Yeah.
Not Jimified. And I was like, oh, Oh, I felt like this weight lift. I was like, oh, here we go. I like this
Mm-hmm,
seriousness of a minute.
mm-hmm. When Steven shows up to his house and Chip is there, and I'm calling him Chip. We don't know
Chip.
his name,
Yeah.
Chip is there. That I felt like was another place where he's pulled down a little bit, and it's like, oh, this is like really sinister, and like you feel where it could go into a different zone, and instead we're playing porno password, and I'm just like, I think that the point of that is like in thrillers where someone's trying to take over someone's life.
Yeah.
Everyone around them doesn't recognize how weird it is. So now you have like this very waspy family who are playing this inappropriate game together. And they're just like, oh, this is all fine and fun. And no one thinks that it's weird except for you. And you're crazy for thinking it's weird. So I think it's a kind of a funny way of like showing that type of situation. But would you prefer this to be more comedic or more of a thriller?
Thriller. 100 thriller.
You want them to pick that?
Yes. Yes. Go thriller. Please go thriller and keep Jim.
And keep Jim. Yeah.
Go thriller. Dramatic Jim.
Yeah. Because
that's what I want.
I think he could have done it.
He absolutely could have done it.
Yeah.
I understand that wasn't the thought process for this, but like if we could do it over and have dramatic Jim.
Yeah.
Yes. Sign me up.
Yeah. There's little moments, when they first go up to the dish and he basically describes like what sounds like his dad kicking him in the face, and then he has to get reconstructive surgery, even though it's like later he doesn't have a dad or what, who knows what. But there's little moments where it's like, oh, I really kind of feel for him. Not for long, but
no, you like, you're struggling. It's like, I kind of get the way you are. I just don't like this character. I was just so annoyed because I wanted more. I haven't felt this way about a movie before, where usually if I watch a movie and I don't like it, it's because like, I'm like, I don't care. This isn't for me. It's been so long since I've watched a movie where I'm like, wow, I really like this story. I just hate the execution.
Right. You're like rooting for it.
Yeah. I can't think of the last movie we covered that I said that. I was like, oh yeah, this is a really good story. I just don't like the way it was done.
Right, right.
So I guess that's special in its own way.
I want to talk about Leslie Mann.
Yeah.
Who I would call the great Leslie Mann.
Love her.
She plays Robin, Steven's ex-girlfriend, maybe getting back together.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like she plays her role the straightest and the most believable kind of anyone in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so.
I love her in just about everything that she's in. I recently watched The Blaine Rain for the first time. And I didn't know that she was in it. Yeah, I didn't know she was in it. Really loved her in that. I love her. And I said I was going to mention Cameron Diaz. There's a movie called The Other Woman from 2014. It's Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, and Kate Upton are all dating Nicolaj Coster-Waldau. It's so funny. And Leslie Mann is like just laugh out loud, hilarious, belly laugh funny in that movie. Have you seen that?
I thought I did, but now I'm thinking I haven't. Maybe I've seen parts of it.
Yeah, like I think that...
Is it like Women of Three Ages, Three Generations?
Like Leslie Mann and Cameron Diaz are around the same age, but basically like Cameron Diaz is dating this guy and then finds out that he's married to Leslie Mann. Then the two of them find out that he's cheating on both of them with Kate Upton's character.
Yes.
Kate Upton is like much younger.
Yeah. I've seen. Yeah. Okay.
So the three of them decide to get revenge on him. But
yes.
Yeah, it's one of those white poster movies from the 2000s. Well, I don't know why white posters became like the go-to. But I actually saw it in theaters and was just like...
You did?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Wow, you Leslie Stan.
Totally blown away. Yeah, she's great. She's married to Judd Apatow, and this is where they met. This is the project where they met. I know.
I did read that. That's pretty cool. His future wife.
Yep.
It's pretty great.
We also love her on Freaks and Geeks.
Yes.
She plays Miss Foot,
Oh, Miss Foot.
which was a name that we both got a big kick out of. But yeah, I like her in this. Like I said, to me, she feels like the most like real person.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
she did a great job. And even the way she interacts with Chip makes sense to me. It's like the way the way Steven interacts with Chip is like nothing, but the way she's reacting towards him made sense to me.
Yeah. I mentioned at the top of the episode, and we talked about it a little bit, but this movie is like just full of all these appearances by people who would go on to have bigger careers. Jack Black, Janeane Garofalo, Andy Dick, David Cross, Owen Wilson.
Or Owen Wilson really gets
Owen Wilson's scene
crap
in this,
beat out of him.
it's so... Talk about someone who's just not there. Like, why is this guy not fighting back at all?
I know. I didn't understand that. I mean, he sucks, right? He sucks. And
He does suck.
Owen Wilson, though, always makes me laugh in his delivery.
Yeah, he's great.
He's so funny. But why aren't we fighting back?
Like, I get it. You get the drop on someone, you know. I get it. But when you're putting someone's lips around
a dryer,
hand dryer, and they just kind of go, wah, and like, can you imagine a more disgusting thing to put your lips around? So in the commentary, they talked about how it turns out Owen Wilson hated filming that scene.
Oh, really? I couldn't imagine why.
He was apparently very upset that like this, I don't know how to quite express it, but like the general feeling that the three of them presented was basically that it was like beneath him a little bit, and he was upset that like he's in this movie and it might be like a big movie and this is the role he's playing. And so Judd Apatow didn't know that, so he was like, when he was finished, I gave him like a still of him filming the scene, and he apparently ripped it up and threw it away.
Oh, never mind. Oh boy. Uh-oh.
Yes. It's amazing that he came back to work with Ben Stiller
on right?
Zoolander.
It's like, we got to retalk my parts, sir.
Yes. It's like, hey, I'll do this, but yeah. I wanted to ask you, and this is a little off topic, but while we're on the topic of 90s and television shows, did you have a favorite daytime sleazy talk show?
So I grew up on Sally Jessy Raphael.
Okay.
My babysitter watched her every day. So I grew up on her. I mean, I love Maury. I've been to the Maury show a couple of times.
Yeah.
Jerry was great.
Yep.
What about you?
We, and by we, I mean me and my siblings, loved Jenny Jones.
Oh, Jenny Jones was great.
Jenny Jones was awesome. Yeah. And we watched along as her audience got like bigger and bigger, and the studio got bigger, and they did more and more crazy things. It felt like Jerry Springer was kind of like niche, like, you know, fights, and it felt like one very specific type of show. But Jenny Jones felt more broad and like lighthearted in a way. They still did sleazy stories.
Yeah, but there was heart to that show.
There was a lot of heart, and there was a lot of fun and like energy. Yeah. Like Jerry Springer didn't have like cool music, and you know, like it had to be Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jenny Jones. If anyone has seen the Jenny Jones show, please send us an email and let us know. I don't know if it's possible to watch episodes, but
I should try to find it.
I would like buy that on DVD.
Oh my God.
I'm serious. I would love to go back and watch Jenny Jones episodes, because what a time capsule.
I know. Seriously.
Like, it would bring you right back.
Yeah. That would definitely be like a dopamine hit for you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, did you have a cable box, and did you have the naughty channels? I'm assuming you didn't in your household.
No. I remember having 13 channels. Mm-hmm. I don't remember when we got cable, but I remember just being like, oh my gosh, it goes up to like 67 now. Mm-hmm. You know, And everything past that, like, I think a normal cable box would like technically go up to channel 99, but if you just hit up on the button, it would start skipping the
Yes.
ones that you didn't have. So maybe around like 55, it would skip to like 61 and then 62 and then skip,
Yeah.
and then, but if you typed in each individual one, you would get like scrambled channels, or it would just be snow, or it'd be, like nothing. But yeah, I mean, having that amount of channels seemed like the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah, we had an illegal cable box because who my
Wow.
dad was associated with.
Sure. Well, that makes him sound
And
scary.
I know. It was always just like he knew a guy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Tech.
Yeah.
It was more the tech side than the illegal side, I'm assuming.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So much so that we did get the dirty channels, and
Whoa.
I had a birthday party, and I'm not going to name names because I'm still friends with them,
Oh,
but it divided us, where I and 2 other friends stayed in my bedroom, where my 3 other friends just wanted to watch porn the whole night. And I was so mad at them because I was like, I'm still very innocent and 10 years old.
You were 10?
And so, and they like made paper cigarettes. And so they pretended to smoke and watch the channels. And I was so upset in my bedroom with I think it was there was 3 of us. So it was like 3 against 3. And I was like, wow, this sleepover sucks.
Wow. And the paper cigarettes, were they?
There's pictures of them too.
What?
They took the disposable cameras and took
Oh, pictures of the cigarettes.
pictures of themselves smoking the fake cigarettes.
Wow. Were they putting like Pepsi into a cup and pretending it was like whiskey?
Probably. I left them. I went into my bedroom. And I remember
they
my
were
one
like...
friend, she was like, I can't sleep over because I have to go to church the next day. And I was like, I get that. Me and my other friend will just stay in the bedroom. I was so mad at them. I was so mad.
Wow. 10-year-old birthday party.
Yeah. Or I was just a sleepover. I don't even think this was a birthday party.
Got it.
Yeah. But I'll never forget that sleepover. Yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of memories based around illegal cable.
Sure.
And then when it wouldn't work, and then my dad had to get us a new box because that happened. Oh yeah, my dad would be like, "Oh, let me get a new box."
Because the cable TV company caught on, and they were like, "Cut the signal."
I don't know, or we
at
just
the
got
Rubenstein house.
Yeah, we didn't get the signal anymore, so we got a new box.
I remember. My dad is not like a necessarily like scary guy.
Right.
But there was just something. I'm curious if children still feel this way. Do not unplug certain things. Oh my God. Don't plug certain things into other things. And, who messed with the remote settings.
Oh my God.
There's a funny part of this where Jim Carrey's like holding the remote in a crazy way and he's doing like all the setup. And I was like, that is obviously highly dramatic and comedic, but that's kind of what it was like.
Yes.
If you plugged in a new TV,
yes.
Man, you were going to stand there for like 30, 40 minutes setting everything up and getting the TV set the way that you wanted it.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the court case, it's not just, 2 brothers. It's 2 brothers who like used to be on TV. And so it's smart because it's like a crossover of our fascination, not just with celebrities, but like the bad things that celebrities do and how much that like heightens everything. And as a kid, I remember the OJ trial only because my dad would come home and put it on and I wanted to watch Rugrats and I would be like, why? Why do I have to stop watching Rugrats?
I know,
hey
fighting for
this?
TV time. Fighting for TV time. Like when your dad came home from work, the remote was his.
Yeah.
Was it a remote or clicker in your house?
Remote. Never a clicker.
We called it a clicker.
Yeah. And like I said, my dad isn't like a, like a stereotypical dad kind of, guy. But there were 2 TVs in the house. One in my parents' room and one in the living room.
Yep.
So everyone watched what was on the TV because you were not going in mom and dad's room to watch TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I remember getting an ancient television that was hooked up to nothing, but I could put it in my room. And if no one else was using any of the video game systems, plug that into the TV and play it on like incredibly poor quality, but I could sit in my room by myself and play video games. And that was like magical.
I just wish I could feel that feeling again.
Do you?
Yes, that special, everything is at our fingertips. It
I
is
know.
so easy to access everything. And the feeling of getting the first time you can get your own TV for your bedroom.
Yeah.
With a DVD player or VHS
And,
player. Oh,
what I was going to say was first there was the TV, that is terrible. And then maybe you get one of the teeny little 13-inch TVs that has a VHS player in it. You don't need to hook up a separate thing. You just pop in a VHS. Now the whole world is open. And then, maybe you get a DVD player. Oh my God.
I mean, it was life-changing.
You know when you will feel that way?
When?
When you get the Jenny Jones show on DVD and you pop it in.
Full circle. Yeah.
Anyway, back to the movie.
Yes, yeah. It was like an intermission.
Yeah.
Commercial.
We get this whole tit for tat. Will they, won't they? Ben Stiller and Judd Apatow flat out were like, this movie is so full of homosexual overtones. Like, not even like us trying to hide it. Like, this is about two men who are obsessed with each other. And they're like, at the time, we think that went completely over people's heads.
Wow.
We get the story, escalating scenarios, grievances that turn into like prison time, and then kidnapping your girlfriend. There's the big showdown at the satellite dish. They built that satellite dish. They actually made that on top of a mountain somewhere. Ben Stiller named the mountain. I don't know where it was, but and then they had to like pour rain on them. They said they were filming in the rain for like days, and it was absolutely miserable. And then Chip convenes with like his dead mom, I suppose, at the end, and then jumps off.
Yes.
And doesn't die. And then we get the whole like, oh, it's going to start all over again with him and the EMT.
Right.
Yes. Who is also an actor, David Bow, who was in UHF.
Oh my God, UHF.
Yes.
Oh, what a blast from the past.
Yes. He's Bob from UHF, Weird Al's best friend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So how did you feel about this ending?
So this ending to me is when like my eyes lit up again. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is great. This is great. He's hanging. We don't know if he's going to live or not. Mm-hmm. When Steve goes to save him, he's like, I'm not going to let you go. And then he does fall. And this is the time when we're seeing everyone tuning in for the trial. And he lands on the exact satellite dish of pretty much all of his preferred customers.
Right.
Where you will not have access to this trial. I was like, this is so good. But then he lives. And I'm like, right, because it's a comedy.
Right.
And I also wanted to get your opinion. How did you feel about we visit a couple of houses, but particularly we see one where we see the guy lose cable and then he looks at the book and picks it up.
Kyle Gass, from Tenacious D. Yeah.
Do we love that? Do we not love that?
I thought it was funny. I thought it's a funny idea.
Sure, because I'm like, right, now we're back to a comedy.
Yeah.
I was like, if they kill Chip, I'm changing my rating.
I agree. I agree.
Right.
Yeah. And Stiller said, he's like, it's my fault. He's like, I should have pushed for it. I should have committed.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, I wrote in my notes, Stiller says that they cut some stuff because they wanted to make it closer to a comedy, but he wishes that they stuck to their guns. And him and Apatow both said they envisioned the trailers for this like trailers for like Cape Fear and like thrillers. And then the trailers and the marketing was all geared towards this is a comedy. This is funny.
Because we have Jim.
And so audiences were like, oh, this is not as funny. Stiller didn't commit, so it wasn't as serious. For example, I didn't put this together. And then after I heard him say it, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. The party, the karaoke thing that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Stiller said that was his version of the tenants from Rosemary's Baby. And Rosemary's Baby is a story about a woman who is being gaslit basically by everyone around her because there's some satanic stuff and whatever. But it's all of these different characters. And like Jim Carrey as the cable guy, he has like all this power. When he goes to visit him in prison, the guard behind Ben Stiller is one of his preferred customers.
Right.
So Stiller, throughout the movie, he's like, yeah, this was supposed to be a nod to this thriller, and this was supposed to be a nod to this horror movie. When Jim Carrey puts the chicken on his face and he's like Silence of the Lambs, one of the actors who is a police officer from that scene in Silence of the Lambs, where Hannibal Lecter cuts a dude's face off in order to escape, one of those police officers plays a police officer in this movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's there. Like,
yeah,
the DNA is there, and it's just, it won't pick a lane. It stays half and half. And, you know, if you're listening to this and you're screaming because you're one of the people who like really loves this, I'm so happy for you that you can. I'm seriously. Like,
yeah.
there are people who find this astounding. And
Well,
like,
it's become a cult classic. It's
Yeah.
become a cult classic. And I feel the same way. I think this is one of the more interesting movies to have a film discussion about. This is not just like, oh, this movie sucked. No, there's so much here. There's so much here.
At one point, we see the movie Play Misty for Me on TV, which is a very specific movie, Clint Eastwood film about a woman who's obsessed with someone. And really quickly, we also have to shout out one of our favorite characters from Seventh Heaven. On Patreon, we do a Seventh Heaven kind of recap. It's like the loosest recap show of all time. But one of our favorite recurring characters is Officer Michaels, who then turns into Sergeant Michaels. And he is played by Christopher Michael. And in this movie, he's also playing a police officer. So
our guy, the
just
shining
pretend.
light of Seventh Heaven.
You could just pretend that that's Sergeant Michaels. And maybe years later, he transfers to the California community of Glen Oak.
I know. Oh my gosh. When he popped up, I texted Seth right away. I was like, oh my God, it's our guy.
Yes. The biggest thing I take away from this is like how relatable it is when you're nice to someone and then they kind of glom onto your life and you don't know how to say, please leave me alone. You know, like, I feel like I've been in that situation so many times just over the course of my life, like going back to childhood, you know, and I never want to stop being that person. Like, I never want to stop being the person who's like nice to the, you know, like weird kid, you know, but it's very tough when he's like, oh, maybe I'll take you up there sometime. And Steven's like, yeah, let's do that. And he's immediately like, oh, okay, tomorrow. When? You want to go? I just like, I get this terrible feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I'm like, oh my God, I know exactly like what that is.
Yeah, that obligation. Also, when someone does a favor for you with the similar personality, or if you like something of theirs and you're just using them for something, that's awful too. I mean, he also reminded me of our good friend, Elwood P. Dowd, who doesn't take no for an answer.
Yes, of course. Michelle's referring to the film Harvey.
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart. Yes. Yeah. Elwood P. Dowd is probably like Elwood P. Dowd's sister probably views him like the cable guy.
Yeah.
When in reality, he's just a nice guy. But she thinks he's like the devil and a menace.
That's right. I wanted to know, were you very triggered by the knocking? Because I know how much you hate knocking.
Yes.
Cable guy!
Absolutely. Starting off your movie with loud noises and
excessive knocking.
It's putting me on edge.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Carrie has funny parts in this. He has funny lines. There's funny things that he says and does. I love the lisp joke at the end when he punches him and he's like, my lisp is gone. And then he punches him again and it comes back. It's the dumbest thing. I still think it's kind of funny. Like there's funny stuff throughout this, but yeah, not my favorite. So this movie was made for $47 million. Like we said, $20 million of it went to Jim Carrey, but I think it was smart, honestly. That's like saying, hey, pay us $20 million and your movie will be shown in more theaters, basically.
Yeah.
Is any one person or performance worth that? No, but at the time, smart move. Goes on to make 102.8 at the box office. Not anything compared to Carrey's other movies prior to this, but not a total disaster. This has 55 on Rotten Tomatoes, 3.3 on Letterboxd, 56 on Metacritic. Ebert gave this 2 out of 4 stars, and his review is really interesting. I recommend people go and see it because he basically was like, hey, wait, what happened to funny Jim Carrey? And then he's like, I know that I haven't given Jim Carrey's movies good marks so far, but I was warming up to him. And now you're pulling funny Jim Carrey away from it's really interesting. Not necessarily like interesting takes on the film, but like just an interesting take on a critic and how he approaches actors and films over time. I recommend it. It's one of his shorter reviews. But yeah, I recommend checking that out. So we asked some friends on Twitter what they thought, and we got a lot more responses than I thought we were going to. Kate Miller at AKateDem says, Don't You Want Somebody to Love is another excellent musical performance by Jim Carrey.
He did do a great job in that.
And I believe she's referring to Cuban Pete from The Mask.
I thought it was fantastic.
Okay. I thought it was all right. Not my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Ra at Rayshawn Jamal says, me and my best friend used to call each other and reenact the answering machine scene. I would come home from work thinking I was popular with the ladies, but nope, it's just Kareem.
That's so great. It's just Kareem.
Michael Lee Louie at Lord Louis 78 says, tried watching it last week and lasted 5 minutes. The incessant knocking of the door made me knock it off. I just can't when Jim Carrey is doing comedy. Jamila at Wildcat Tin Wow said, I don't remember it very well, except that I liked it. I caught it on HBO with my sister accidentally when we were young. I really liked dark humor and felt it was more grounded than some of his other comedic roles. Stalking happens all the time. Medieval times seems cool.
Jamila, if you go, let us know.
Yes, please. And if you get pulled into the audience and, I don't know, almost murdered by someone and they allow it, that's when the movie just, it is abandoning reality, man. Jennifer Howell at Gen X Gen H says, I worked in a theater when this came out, so my 12-year-old brother went to see this about 27 times.
Whoa.
Then later he impersonated Carrie's character on a series of phone messages left at a friend's house.
Oh, God.
He loved this movie, and I appreciate it through his eyes. It has some smart ideas. And then we got an email from a friend who loves the movie, and we are not sure if they wanted to remain anonymous or not. So we're going to err on the side of caution and keep this anonymous.
It's just a movie friend. It's our movie friend.
Yeah, you can pretend that it's Michelle's real thoughts on the movie if you want. So
if I could express them so articulately well, I'm sure this friend wrote it beautifully.
All right, so the email subject line is all the channels. And it says, Cable Guy is, in my humble opinion, one of the greatest movies ever made. Close to zero people would agree with me on this sentiment, however. It is a movie that melds comedy, tragedy, and a bunch of other things. Few movies feature medieval times. My opinions on Cable Guy have shifted. I've always found it hilarious. A more than slightly, neurotic man in search of a friend is willing to do the ultimate move. Hook a guy up with all the channels. Now it would be Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Showtime, etc. Retail price likely comparable to Cablevision. It has since shifted, as I think it actually spoke to a greater theme. The interesting thing about Cable Guy is that it is a window into our current society. A man raised on the facts of life is now raised on the facts of life via TikTok. Scary. However, it is a real thing and something that I have feared for a long time. Parents I know are cognizant of their children's screen time to the degree that they can exert influence, but there may be a generation lost in the fold before we realize the true wrath of what we have sown. That is, in a more innocent era, Jim Carrey raised by the television. Today's youth are raised by an amalgamation of toxicity, marketing, shaming, body dimorphism, harassment, and an assortment of other negative bombardments. Cable Guy is a movie that many people assume is a plot of a creepy guy that stalks Matthew Broderick. Good plot in and of itself, but the truth is perhaps somewhere in there. We have become overly reliant and trusting of media to raise our future. It's honestly Jim Carrey's best film from the point of relevance. Many discard it as a guy who is obsessed with the seduction of free cable. The metaphor transcends. Cable is another way of saying our current media infrastructure, which many would say is inherently toxic. The strong dose of pop culture, OJ, Kardashian, pick your favorite villain is obvious. Ben Stiller was aware, as were most, of the absurd, insipid nature of pop culture obsession. The answer the Cable Guy chose was obviously wrong. Please do not jump on a satellite dish. But the movie was prescient, in the sense that we need to take a step back from mass media and the constant bombardment. I think that there was a subtle message buried underneath that underscored that obsession takes various forms. Whether it's binge watching just about anything or desperately seeking an unrequited friend, quote unquote, they are all unhealthy in their own right. Clearly, technology is both a blessing and a curse. It is becoming ever more transparent. They should make a sequel. Thank you, anonymous friend, who maybe doesn't want to be anonymous, but thank you.
Very well said.
Very well said. And yeah, like Chip's realization at the end of like, oh, I know what I have to do. Like, I have to destroy this thing. I think it would have been better if he died with it, but that's just me. That's just me.
Yes.
And then also about this being Jim Carrey's best film from the point of relevance. I agree. I just wish that it went further and commented more on all of the things that this person is kind of pulling out of it. I think it could go a little further and do some of that themselves. So there's some people that we do know. Now we go to a segment of the show where we hear from people we don't know. It's called Half Star, 3-Star, 5-Star. Half-star, 3-star, 5-star. All right, so these are reviews from letterboxd.com, which is a website and app where you can log, rate, review, list all of the movies that you have seen. And we start with a half-star review, which is the lowest rating that you can give a movie. We go all the way up to a 5-star, which is the highest rating that you can give a movie. And as I said earlier, I'm going to read this half-star review as Larry the Cable Guy.
Yes.
You know, my favorite comedian, I think.
That's right.
I think that's a confirmed fact.
I think so.
All right, half-star. And I did want to note that every part of this review, except for the final 2 words, are in capital letters.
I turned on the TV at my hotel and assumed the Cable Guy was a lighthearted Jim Carrey movie, like Ace Ventura, but his character is so creepy, and my remote decided to stop working. So I was forced to watch Jim Carrey stalk Ferris Bueller. Don't recommend.
Yeah. I was forced to watch Jim Carrey stalk Ferris Bueller.
That's really funny.
3-star review says, very silly, which is expected and appreciated in a Jim Carrey flick. Better than it should be because Ben Stiller is a really good director, but also think it could have been better if it ended with a more serious final act than what we got. It's labeled as a black comedy thriller, but gets just a bit too ludicrous to be anything more than just a comedy. And the 5-star review says, one of the most unexpected, fascinating films of the 1990s. A horror movie corroding the skeleton of a comedy, tempered by the weirdest musical ever. Jim Carrey is by far the greatest actor of his generation.
there's truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I mean, when I was watching this, I was like, oh, this is a horror-ish movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is a whole new genre that I just opened up for myself.
Yep. Whole new bag of worms.
Yeah.
Bag of worms.
Sure. Death, worms, bodies, ground.
Sure.
Best of the generation, though.
All right. So now we go to a segment of the show where we talk about what we would cut, what we would edit, and what we would keep. It's called What the Keck. All right. Michelle.
Sure.
Do you want to go first?
To be honest with you, I don't have a cut.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's a lot I would cut, but if I'm editing this, what makes sense for the story? I'm going to edit down the medieval time sequence because it's too long. And I'm keeping the scene where everyone's tuned into their TVs and we have Chip falling onto the satellite dish. Like, I think that is like perfect. And then it all goes to static. Like, yes, that is perfection. But yeah, I don't know. What scene are you cutting? What are you doing?
Well, I just want to really quickly say, how insane is it that Jim Carrey has 2 movies almost back to back that end with people sitting around watching their TVs?
Oh my God.
And he kind of interrupts the program. This, obviously, I'm referring to the ending of The Truman Show.
Sure. Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Wow, that's so weird.
Yeah. And each time we're shown like people's reaction to their entertainment being cut off. So I will say, Cable Guy did it first.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm cutting all of Medieval Times. I don't think it's necessary at all. It's crazy. And like I said, it ends with Steven being like, let's go again sometime. So it doesn't even do anything to Steven's character. Like it's a net zero to me. Get rid of it. And I think this movie becomes more bearable.
Sure.
I would edit down some of the stuff with his job.
With Steven's job?
Yeah. Just, I don't think we need as much of it as we get. And then I'm keeping everything with Leslie Mann. And after learning that thing about Rosemary's Baby, the influence on the party, even though I don't love the over-the-top musical performance, I would keep that whole party. And I would kind of lean into the community aspect. Like, introduce people, be like, hey, this is a doctor. Hey, this is a, show who all of these people are.
His preferred customers, yeah.
Yep. So we rate a movie as a schmovie, movie, or a film. We rate it 1 through 5 stars and give our final recommendations. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
All right. So what did you think I was going to rate this?
I wrote down a 2.5 schmovie.
Ooh, okay. All right. When I watched this a little bit ago, I did rate it 2.5 stars. And after hearing, the 3 minds behind the movie and all that stuff, seeing everything that they're going for, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to lower my rating because I see all the places where they fumbled this. And it's like, again, if you love this, God bless you. I'm so happy that you love this. This is such a frustrating experience for me. And seeing all the things that they were going for and that they wouldn't commit, I can't reward that. So I'm going to say a 2-star schmovie. Absolutely. So
awesome.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Normally, I think every time I've re-rated, I've always gone up.
You've always gone up.
Yeah. But on this one, I'm just like, man, what we could have had, this could have been much, much better. For you, again, this was a stab in the dark. Just as I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know what is going through Michelle's mind right now. I put down for you 2-star schmovie.
Very good. I am giving this 2.5 schmovie.
Okay.
Because this could have been a 4-star film.
Yes.
And I feel very passionate about that. And it just goes back to how I just wish we went thriller, keep Jim and make it dramatic. And right here we could have like a 4.5-star thriller.
Yeah, absolutely.
And instead we have a 2.5 schmovie.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a bummer. I'm not mad that I rewatched it. I was glad to actually, because this movie really perplexed me the first time I saw it. And so
well, for me, first time too. Yeah.
Yeah. So being able to like sit with it, learn about it, and not just kind of write it off, I always feel better. I hate not liking a movie, you know?
Yeah. And like, again, me rating, I think I usually don't rate things that low unless I like passionately,
Yeah.
like Clifford or Tampopo, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This one, it feels, because it's like, oh, what you could have been.
Yes. Yeah. The potential, the framework, the DNA, it's all there.
That's right.
It's all there.
That's
And
right.
you and I might just not be able to see it. The people who love this, God
Well, no,
bless
I
you.
think we do see it. We see what's going on. It's just not for us. It just doesn't land where it should be, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we finished Jim Lai. What was your favorite movie, if I can ask? And we'll include Truman Show, even though that was a re-release.
Probably Man on the Moon.
Okay.
But my favorite episode to do was Eternal Sunshine.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
Because, yeah, I thought it was our last. No, I'm just kidding. No, you broke me with your little hat. So,
Oh, got it. Okay.
yeah. What about you? What was your favorite?
I still say Truman Show is my favorite movie.
Yeah, but
think,
no,
of
we
his.
did
From this month. From this month, yeah. I think Man on the Moon, just doing all the Andy Kaufman stuff,
I know.
going deep into that with you and talking
Yeah.
about that was a lot of fun. And I really loved doing The Mask with Felicia.
My gosh, that was a joy.
Yes, that was great.
Me on eBay today looking for Andy Kaufman stuff. She's still in her era, folks.
Hey, if you're still in our era, we'd love it if you'd give us a rating and review wherever you're listening. Really helps the show. Man, this show is climbing the charts.
Wow, man. Yes.
We're like number 32 in Venezuela some weeks,
Woohoo.
cracking the top 100 in Canada some weeks.
Mm-hmm. We're on the top 200 in America, too.
Top 200 pretty consistently in America,
Yeah.
So, folks, listen, the listens are great. But it's the share, it's the rating in the review that really, really helps push
There you go.
the computer to push us to other people. So we appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
You can also send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought about Jim Lai, what you're doing, what you're eating. Are you on eBay? What's your last eBay purchase? Send us an email.
I would love to know that, actually.
I actually would love to know that too. That's so interesting, right?
Yeah.
You can also support the show, patreon.com/moviefriendspodcast. $5 a month gets you access to an increasingly large number of episodes and different projects that we have going on. We have Weirdcast. We have done every episode of Freaks and Geeks, friends.
We're the only podcast that's done it.
We are the only podcast that has done that, which is absolutely insane. Super Amazing Film Club, where we talk with people that we love about movies that they love. We've got Stop or My Mom Will Podcast, where I talk with my mom, who is turning 70, by the way, about action movies, which is a whole lot of fun. And Happy as Happy, where we talk about random episodes, the most cringeworthy episodes from Seventh Heaven across the years, where you can listen to Michelle and I lose our minds. That one is a lot of fun. That's Messed Up, which is a show that I do with my wife about horror movies and movies that will never be on the main feed of this show. We just recently did Possession by Andrzej Zulawski. Before that, we did Crash by David Cronenberg. We've got The Exorcist coming up. Yes, folks, this is where the crazy stuff is. And we've got Ghibli Gabs, series that Michelle and I did. We're taking a little break, but there's still a bunch of episodes where we go through the movies of Studio Ghibli.
I think that's it, Seth. Yeah, for now.
Signing up also gives you access to our patron-only Discord, and you get to vote for upcoming episodes and upcoming themes. Now, Michelle, after that incredibly long commercial, we are taking the month of August off.
Yes, but, dear listener, you will not even know we're gone.
No.
We have so much planned for you. Seth is laughing and crying because we're insane. We don't know what a break is.
There are more episodes going out in August than a normal month.
Yeah.
Yes.
The OC20 returns.
Yep.
Every Friday this August. Join us as we discuss season 2. Seth finished season 2 of the OC. If you joined us for season 1, you know how much you loved hearing Seth's fresh take on the OC. And you definitely want to tune in for season 2.
Yep. Very, very exciting to finally revisit it a year later.
Yeah.
We've also got some interviews coming out that we've done with different directors, and those are going to be coming out probably Mondays when the normal episodes come out. And then I'm going to be covering some new stuff, new movies with some different people over the month.
And you can hear our recap from the Stony Brook Film Festival.
That's right. That's also coming.
There's so much coming.
So much is coming in the month of August. We won't be around. So if you're sending emails and we're not responding, that's why. But don't worry. We will be back in September. We don't know what September will be because September is one of the months that our patrons get to vote on a theme. And so if you're like, I loved Jim Lai, I hated Jim Lai, I want to hear you guys talk about the films of Akira Kurosawa, or I can't wait for you guys to do Disney Channel movies, or whatever. You want 70s car movies?
What? Is that a genre?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
You want noir? Are we ever going to do a noir month?
I don't know.
September could be it. If you sign up and you nominate that, hey, you never know.
Maybe we should tease them. I want to watch Free Willy, guys.
Michelle really wants to watch Free Willy.
And I also want to watch The Apartment.
Yeah, Michelle really wants to do Free Willy, The Apartment. We talked earlier about how much we really wanted to do The Wedding Singer, and that hasn't come up yet.
Right.
So maybe we follow up Jim Lai with Sandler September.
I think everyone will just leave us. Be like,
yeah, it's like,
no,
all right.
No, guys, come on.
And hey, before we sign off for July, you still have time to go and vote for us.
We are nominated for a People's Choice Podcast Award under TV and Film.
Yep. So click the link in the episode description, and still a few days to vote.
How long did it take? 3 minutes to
3
sign
minutes.
up and vote?
Yeah.
Seth timed himself. So please do that. Please, 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 please. If you listen to this before August.
We are in the
TV and Film
and film category, and then just the general category.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we did it.
We did it, Seth. Enjoy your vacation.
Enjoy your vacation. It's going to be pretty much as much work as we normally do.
That's right. That's right. We'll just be editing instead of talking.
That's right. That's right. All right. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Seth. Hey, thanks, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
This was a good one to discuss.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Thank you very much for listening. And until next time, have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Vicora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks.